Hi all, and welcome to my vlog. My name is Erin, and this is why your first book is going to be your worst. Creating books takes time, tons of effort, and it's not for the faint of heart. You have to be dedicated to your craft and still accept that your first book will never be perfect. Perfection is just not attainable, and there is no perfect book. That being said, your first book will always be your least perfect and probably the worst example of your skills as a writer. Let's talk about why. Number 1, the learning curve. Your first book is going to have the steepest learning curve out of any book you ever write. This is where you put all of your knowledge and skills to work. You get to see for certain how all of your plans come about. Your first book is not just about writing either, it's also about learning the industry. Whether you're going traditional, indie, or self-publishing, there is a ton of stuff that you have to learn that goes along with the whole book creation process. While learning the industry is an ongoing process, you're going to be learning the lion's share of this during the process of your first book. With your first full-length project, you're also going to be putting all of your research methods into action. You're going to see what styles of writing work for you, what kind of characters you like, and what style of voice you gravitate to. You might also be experiencing beta readers, critique partners, and editors for the first time. All of this is going to compound into a very different experience from your later books. Once you know the basic deal for everything, you can adjust for the future and you'll have some experience to help you through later books. Now, there's a chance that the first book you're writing is not the first lengthy piece that you've ever created, but it is the place where you sort of have to solidify your brand. You're committing to certain things and that can be nerve-wracking. Number 2, practice makes better. The more you write, the better you're gonna get. You'll be able to find your own voice, know what points of view work best for you, what tense you prefer writing in, and all that jazz. Once you know that, you can write and keep writing. Because you get better as you go, it stands to reason that your first book is going to be where you are at your lowest skill level for any book that you are ever going to produce. Most people, even if they haven't been writing creative stories for that long, have still been trained in the basics of writing since they were pretty young. Essays might not necessarily be creative, but they're still practice. There's the thought that you need to put in about 10,000 hours of practice before you are considered master at something. But the good news is that most of us have put in a fuck ton of writing time before we ever actually get around to writing a book. It is not a lost cause if you decide to commit to a book at 30, 40, 50, or older. Rest assured that whatever age you start this process at, it's gonna be okay. Number 3, the shiny effect. Any author that you love that has multiple books under their belt should be evidence of this. Even if you start off with their first book and you think it's amazing, by the time you get to their 20th book, if you go back and read their first, you're gonna notice a difference in quality. It's not that the early books are bad, it's just the best that you or anyone can do at the time with their current resources and skills. Because everyone gets better with practice, time, and experience, the newer books are going to appear much shinier and polished than older ones. Number 4, shit takes time. You're going to know more at 30 than you did at 20. It's just a fact. When you're writing your first book, you don't know what you don't know. Research is ongoing and you're going to be collecting new information and experience that is going to bring depth to your later works. And again, it's not to say that your early books will be lacking depth, but consider with the first book, you may have a snorkel. With the 5th, you might have scuba gear, and with the 20th, you have a submarine. It's all about building and growing your arsenal so that you can dig deeper. In another aspect, your first book can take a really long time, way longer than most newbies or people who are not associated with the industry might think. 4 years or longer is not uncommon. The difficulty with this and the fact that a lot of people are not aware means that you might end up rushing. Rushing means that steps get skipped, and skipping the beta reader process or additional drafts or God forbid the professional editor means that you are not going to be producing something of the highest quality. Number 5, you might have chosen wrong. Wrong might seem a bit harsh, so let me explain what I mean. It's possible that the story you told was not a great choice for you. Maybe it was an idea that you were clinging to for a really long time that doesn't suit you as a writer anymore, but you didn't want to let it go. Maybe you're writing in a genre that isn't truly where your heart lies. There are a lot of factors that can weigh down a first book. Just like you might change your mind about school or a job or a partner, the same thing can happen with a book. It just might happen after you've already published. There's nothing wrong with that. You'll know better for next time and you can pursue something that is more in line with who you are. Much like a first draft is going to be the worst version of any book, so too is your first book probably going to be the worst of your career. But I reiterate, that does not mean that it's bad. Knowing that you can and will do better in the future should not stop you from putting out the book that you're working on now. Every person who has worked at a skill is going to look back at when they started and be like, wow, I knew nothing, Jon Snow. You don't know what you don't know, and some things can only be learned through experience. If you look at your early work and cringe, congrats, you've grown. I can be super self-conscious about my first 2 books because I can look at them and the growth between then and my work now is extremely obvious to me. I don't think that they're bad books. I love them. But I know that I've grown. I also know that I'm now writing in a genre that makes me happier, and that, on top of my experience, is going to show in my current and future work. So that's all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for watching. Tell me about your experience. Are you working on a book now? Do you have multiple books out? How do you feel about your first published work compared to what you're working on now? If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. If you'd like to be notified as soon as I upload, then ring that bell. All my social media links will be in the description below. Both of my books, Olympian Confessions, Hades and Persephone, and Olympian Confessions, Hera, are available now in ebook and paperback. If you'd like your manuscript critiqued by me, you can check out my new critique service. Links to all of those will be on my website below. If you've enjoyed my content, consider being part of my Patreon family. I will see you all next week with another video. Bye!